Welcome to another episode of the Doug and Mike Show podcast. What's happening, everybody? I'm Mike.
And I'm Doug, and we have real conversations with real people. Mike, it's coming up to the end of the year, and it's that time to do something really, really special.
Man, we got a little end of the year treat here. We went back and forth about what to do for like a last episode. Do we kind of go back and do a mashup of everything we did over the year? Do we have something new? Well, we came up with a pretty cool idea. Lo and behold, we have found the lost tapes, man.
The lost podcast.
The lost podcast. Like down there in the bottom of that kitchen junk drawer, there's a cassette tape, and we took it out, and lo and behold.
I don't know if I'd call it the junk drawer.
Not the junk. No, it's just the tape.
The golden archive.
This was in the chest. This was in the gold chest.
Yes.
And it is a recording that you and I did with a pretty cool guy, J-Ryze, who's in Toronto, Ontario, in Canada. We met him earlier in the year, back in May, when you and I went up to Toronto for the Evan Carmichael experience, and it was like our first night in Toronto. You had kind of lined all this up so we could go to a Blue Jays game and get a little introduction to Canada from a Canadian who turns out it couldn't have been any better, because the guy took us and showed us everything like in probably 6 hours. I think we did more than I could have anticipated. We had done the whole trip, to be honest with you.
Yeah, definitely. Starting off with a former brothel that is now a bar. So that
former brothel.
Former.
I like how
I was tongue-tied saying that.
In the podcast, we mentioned that, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, that's a formal brothel. Now it's a bar. And so just a little background. I mean, you're going to get, number one, we're in a bar when we do the podcast, right? So it's a little noisy, and but that was kind of part of the experience, because JRyze, as you're going to find out, he's kind of like talking us into, Doug and I have this idea about doing the show at this point, but we don't know exactly what it looks like. We don't know what it's going to be called.
Right.
We're like talking about, it's going to be 67 was the name we kind of came up with back then, referring to the number of counties in our state and in Florida. So
we just winged it with that at the beginning.
I was like, I was right there at the dinner table, in this noisy bar, having some craft beers. We just kind of winged it. And then, so JRyze just convinces us, look, guys, do a podcast right now. Do your very first one. So, I mean, we literally put the iPhone in an empty glass upside down right in front of us. And I'm on one side of the table. You and JRyze are on the other. And I mean, am I explaining it? Is this not how it went down?
As I love to say over and over again, we jumped right in the deep end with water wings.
And, this guy is really a empire builder. He's a guide for businesses and startups. And, as Evan Carmichael says, Evan doesn't make a move without checking with JRyze first.
Yeah, JRyze, I've referred to him many names, Morpheus, Yoda, Ninja. He's a very complex character.
And knows he's a design guy and knows how to scale your ideas, and that's his big kind of theme and buzzword. He talks about how scalable your ideas are, and so it was a total blessing to get a chance to be around JRyze. Turns out we really hit it off well, as you can hear in the interview, and we didn't really have any intention of publishing the interview. It was kind of like a trial, a chance for us to try it out. But here we are. We figure at the end of the year, let's go back into the archives, pull this one out, and just
there's some good lessons in it. He's got a lot of wisdom, and most of all, he understands firefighters with the little Reader's Digest we gave him.
Man, and this guy, kudos, many thanks. He'll never know how appreciative we are. I am personally, we are as a you and I as a collaborative to him, because he's really shown us how to do so many things, and been a sounding board for us as we launched the show and got out there and started becoming more of an entity in the social media space. So, man, just hope you enjoy the interview. We did. We're so excited that it's actually coming to fruition the way it is, because now I feel like we have some of an audience out there who's excited about some of the content we're putting out. So, Doug, take us into it, man. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, JRyze, enjoy.
Thanks for listening to us this year. Stick around. We look for a great 2019, and make sure you follow us on Instagram, The Doug and Mike Show. Peace.
Out.
Welcome to the 67 Podcast, a podcast that focuses on what matters in all 67 counties in our great state. We're focusing on what leaders are doing. We're trying to empower not only our membership with our fire service, but we're looking outside that and looking at our thought leaders across our state. So we're kicking off our first podcast, kind of a special episode. We are actually live doing our first episode in Toronto, Ontario. We are in Canada, and we've got some pretty special guests. My co-host, Doug Watler, is here. Doug, what up?
Watch for you in the house, just bringing it live and in charge.
We have got we've got a pretty incredible show. Doug and I came up to Canada, and we're doing some great stuff this week with a couple of thought leaders and getting some inspiration and trying to really just crank things out and drill down and find out what matters and how to be a guide in your life. And so we're going to introduce a really special guide that's really taking things off for us. So JRyze, he is a consultant and advisor to the stars. JRyze, welcome to the show.
Honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Man, what a good time. Listen, first of all, thank you so much for being a gracious host. What's your impression so far of what we're getting out of Canada?
Honestly, you guys are the best visitors I've had maybe ever. Like, way to represent Florida, right?
Nice.
We've trained for this very hard to make sure that when we came to town, Customs put a little red dash next to our name, and we're probably under surveillance.
So, we were talking about this when we got here. It's like, this is the farthest north that we've been. Doug, is that true for you?
Well, I had to think about that long and hard, and I realized that I did a little air ambulance work, and I used to come to Canada doing air ambulance. So I'll have to look at the coordinates, but as of right now, yes, it is as far north as I've been.
Yeah. So Evan, we're doing this. We're focusing on, 67 is the title, and that's kind of cool. And we're talking about, Florida, and we're going to try and really get some great stories and conversation going about what's happening all over our great state. But you're many, many, many miles away. Tell us a little bit about what you do and who you're working for and why we're up here.
I help people rise, straight up. I help them. To me, everything's an inside game, right? Your outside world, everything you create, your mission, it comes from who you are as a person. And so I help people be better. And it takes guts, right? You have to have the hard conversations. You have to speak the truth. You have to challenge the status quo. And so I can do that for anyone, whether you're from Florida, Alaska, I don't care. Like, be better, right? Be a better leader. And I see you guys as leaders, right? You guys are leading firefighters, leading politics, leading government, leading everything, right? You are leading the way in Florida, and I'm excited and honored to get into it.
And just so the audience knows, we kind of debriefed JRyze earlier today and told him about the culture of the firefighters, and if you're not alive until we kick you when you're down in the dirt. And
that's a good point.
He completely understands that now, that we're we eat our young. So
yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, because it's like it's like you hurt. We always laugh at the station. We say you hurt the ones you love. We tell the new guys that. It's like, who do you fight with the most? Your family. Your brother. Who do you put in a headlock and just want to choke out your family. So we're trying to kind of instill some of that and talk to JRyze about what that's like, and how we, we're not trying to oppress the guys, but sometimes that's kind of a test of making sure you want to be part of the tribe. So, kind of an important conversation. Well, JRyze, we have a question for you. So, you advise, tell us a little bit about what you do. I mean, you're involved in kind of helping develop some of the folks that are out there that are making changes, making a difference, kind of disrupting industries, not just private industries, but public industries as well. So tell us about what you're involved in, some of kind of your background.
So I help leaders make better decisions, right? I advise leaders, because leaders are navigating all kinds of crazy variables. And they're surrounded by yes men and people with agendas and people trying to nudge them and bully them and influence them, right? They're trying to do their best for their tribe, for their people. They're trying to, elevate the world, which I love, right? Anyone who's uplifting others, I love it. But there's a conflict between people trying to uplift others and everyone else around them. Because that's just the way the world is. The masses operate on a different wavelength than the leaders. So they need an advisor they can count on. They need someone to speak the truth. When the media puts out a story about them, or when an event happens, or when they're gonna rebrand, or they're gonna make a new decision, or they're gonna come to a new country, or expand a branch, or try a new experiment, all of that stuff, they need a sounding board. They need wisdom and advice from a counselor, a consigliere, someone who they can count on for real talk, right? I don't know if I can swear on this podcast, but you know what I want to say,
we're
right?
firefighters. You can do whatever you want.
We got a couple. We've been known to throw a couple bad words out. Give us a success story. Like give us a real life success story, a story of transformation where you've helped really be the guide.
All right, biggest success story, and my favorite, Evan Carmichael.
Okay.
When we met, he didn't have a slogan. I mean, he had one. It was like 18 million entrepreneurs served or something. It was like a piggyback off McDonald's, which is good. I'm not hating, but like it wasn't super original, right? It wasn't Evan. He didn't have the believe message. He didn't have black and orange colors. He didn't have like the clear vision, the believe message. He didn't have a book. He didn't have a giant YouTube channel. He didn't have any of this stuff. And I'm not taking credit for all that stuff, but I am taking credit for the influence, the conversation.
You were in the trenches with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Side by side.
100%. What?
Which takes you back to the fact that leaders lead, and sometimes leaders don't have to be the face. Just someone that is there as a trusted counsel, and
I don't want to be the face.
Right. So it's just different strokes for different folks. So it's like, everybody's skill set's different. But the main thing is push it, rise to the occasion.
So it's important for us to talk about, like, for the fire service, we think about like the Chief Laskys who did like the pride and ownership. We have these great DVD series where they talk about, these guys are like, they're the thought leaders for our guys who they really look up to, and they inspire the guys and drive the guys, and Brunacini, who was a leader in Arizona and wrote a lot of books on leadership. So I kind of feel like the little bit that I know about Evan Carmichael, that's kind of like who he is to many, many people. Is that not true?
100%. I mean, he's had meetings with the mayor and stuff, or John Tory anyways, and it's like, it's not really about who you know or who you meet. It's the message, right? The believe message. Like Evan hustles. He puts out 3 videos a day, 7 days a week. What is that?
Right.
How much content do you guys put out? How much do I put out? Like,
right.
not even close.
Yeah. Every time I turn around, he's got something out there, right?
And it's valuable, right? It's not fluff.
Right.
It's not like he's putting out like, let me throw away whatever. It's gold.
Yeah.
But like, you guys could have Evan on this show, and it would be valuable. Like, good things would come from it. But like, could you have Lasky or
Bernascini,
Yeah, could you have them on the show?
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, Bernascini passed away.
Oh,
but Chief Lasky, we could have on the show, and that's another point that I think we want to talk about. Is like, in your opinion, because you've been involved in guiding and sort of nudging these folks, and you've been successful doing that.
I nudged you tonight.
Right, that's right. We are here doing, just so the viewers know, the listeners know, we are doing our show tonight. Because
out of our comfort zone.
Yeah, because of JRyze. He says, let's do the show. Let's kick it off. Let's take that leap, right? Like
Take
Doug,
the training wheels off.
well, Doug, what do you say?
Say jump in the deep end without water wings.
So, like, my thing is for the listeners out there, it's like, what are the mistakes that you see in decisions that leaders make that would apply to guys in our field, guys and gals in our field? What are those things you see that we assume?
It's a good question, Mike. Actually, I really respect that because I've heard a lot of podcasts and they ask weak questions. So, props to you for, leveling up the question.
Well, it's our first show,
Fair enough. And to answer, way to make a splash.
There we go.
A water wing splash. A no water wing splash.
No water wings.
But to answer your question, I don't think there are mistakes, and I know people want to hear it, right? Everyone wants a quick tidbit. Give me 7 tips, 7 mistakes that people make, or the number one thing to look out for. But I don't think that's how it works. I feel like leaders like you or like Evan, and I see you guys as similar, just the scale is different. It's fine.
Okay.
They don't make mistakes, right? They do something on Monday, like start a podcast, and the sound quality's bad because we're in a bar.
You guys like another beer?
Ooh, I'm kind of nursing mine, but you guys want another one?
That's good.
Did you like the Kona Big Wave?
It was very good.
It's nice, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a golden ale from Kauai.
Yeah.
That was Kaylee, by the way, gentlemen.
Did
Ladies.
you make that?
I
Did you harvest
They're
the
completely
hops?
unedited, raw.
Did you harvest the
Yeah.
hops?
So as my point, we might have an interruption from a waitress because we're holding a podcast in a bar.
Live.
It's kind of funny.
It's natural.
And we're on the road in Toronto.
Right.
Insane, right? Who does this?
Is that a mistake? Did we just make a
Yeah,
mistake?
exactly my point.
We just made a mistake. I love it.
And we roll with it.
Exactly. So leaders do this stuff, right? On Monday or Tuesday, whatever, they launch their podcast
Okay.
live on the road in a bar with a waitress. Ridiculous.
Okay. Bad idea, right?
Was it a
bad idea?
Was it a mistake?
Okay.
Or are you ahead of the game? Is that the reason you're a leader? Because you're willing to do that stuff? Are you willing to rap on the road? You're willing to shake hands and say hi and make a fool of yourself? You're willing to launch a podcast with terrible conditions?
Right.
Like,
Right.
everyone else would wait. And they would be like, I have to get a mic, and I have to come up with a name, and I have to have the best sound, and they would just wait. But do leaders wait? That's my real question.
Yeah.
We push forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are there mistakes? Can you guys make mistakes? Do mistakes even exist?
Yeah.
And if they do they matter? Like, are they helpful? Are they helpful mistakes? Can you recover from the mistakes? Are there unrecoverable mistakes? These are the questions no one asks. They always come on the podcast and they ask, what are the mistakes? And they want the 7 tips back, and they think that's it. And I want to give the 7 tips because it's nice and it's easy and you can market it. But what I really want is for people to realize leaders don't make mistakes. They just move forward. That's it.
I think one of the interesting points is the fact that, we're firefighters, we're career firefighters, we're like, our own subculture in our own world, and, JRyze has just been exposed to it today, like crash course into all the different nuances that firefighters have and the love-hate relationship and how, we really collectively try and destroy people in their infancy because it's a survival factor. It's the fact that we have to know that you have to depend on somebody because your life's on the line. And if you can't handle stress at the dinner table, then you're not going to handle stress when there's people, bleeding out on the street. And that's survival. But the interesting point is that he deals with entrepreneurs and different thought leaders and stuff like that. But listen, he's good at what he does, and he does, he analyzes what's going on, and that's the feedback he's given us.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is interesting about being up here, one of the goals that and I'll just kind of get personal here about coming up and talking about like what I wanted to get out of being in Toronto and meeting with J-Ryze and meeting with Evan Carmichael was like trying to get some confidence in really like creating more content, like feeling comfortable, Doug, about being like a creator. And like, this is an example, I guess, really of doing that, right? Is like empowering the guys out there to be like creators of content. Like, are you writing? Like, are you writing for your local fire magazine?
Or just be raw.
Right, just to be raw.
Because you can make a mistake.
It's funny
okay.
because, when we did a lot of work when I was, I had some work in public information and public relations, and it was funny because I always talk to guys about coming on to be the host or be the talent, as we call it, and kind of that it's like you're going to be the talent. And they say, well, I'm not I don't, and I would always look at them and say, yes, you are. You know every answer to the questions that are going to be asked. You are a subject matter expert. You live this stuff. You know how to put the fire out. You know how to put the chemical out. You know how to get the guy out on it. If he's trapped on top of it, in it, on it, whatever, you're going to get the guy out. So it's like, for me, coming up here was kind of a lesson in being more vulnerable and learning how to put content out there and learning from guys who are doing that, which, with Evan and with J-Ryze and his team, that's what you're doing. And I think we're finding that, like my little bit of time up here so far, it's like, it's not rocket science, I mean, any and all of our guys and gals out there across our state are subject matter experts. They know the answers. They have so much knowledge in this field, Doug, right?
Yeah, but the point is, Mike, is the fact that even though they can be subject matter experts, is the fact that everybody is intimidated to discuss a topic. And leaders have to lead, and leaders have to hold hands, and leaders have to give talking points so that guys can feel confident to discuss the issues. Because the last thing, we're all prideful, and the last thing we want to do is look like we're not, knowing what we do.
Let me ask you something, Doug. What have you seen in Broward? You've been in Broward how many years now?
36.
What have you seen? What's effective? How do you disrupt that? How do you change that culture?
Good question.
How do you get the guys, right? I mean, J-Ryze, I'm thinking like, how does Doug change? That's a big department.
That's a good question.
Yeah,
because I'm in a medium-sized. Doug's in a big department.
But it's not just one department. There's multiple departments in the county that are big.
Yeah.
And I think it's a decentralized type ownership where any person can be expected to rise to the top and represent.
Okay.
So it's an education standpoint of letting people understand the issues so that, God forbid, that they're called, like I'm in Toronto right now. Guess what? If there's an incident in Broward right now, somebody's got to step up to the plate and represent. And, and I feel perfectly comfortable with the fact that my troops can do that.
So but here's my question. If a younger member of your department, somebody who's not in rank, okay, because sometimes we associate leadership with a title or a position. So what if somebody in your department is a firefighter? Have you experienced where you see some of those folks take the lead and become instructors, and they become like sort of like the pioneers of change?
Well, just for an example, Robin Sharma has a thing of leadership with no title. It's
Okay.
The fact
like
is that you have people that are experts, and you know what? You have to bow down to that and understand that, as hard as we try, you might not be the expert. But guess what? You embrace the people that are, and you support them and give them the confidence to go forward.
I like that. How do you see that in your experience,
Well, so
J-Ryze?
your guys back and forth gave me a lot of ideas, right? Like, Are firefighters going to be listening to this podcast? Is that like, can I
Yeah,
talk to them
absolutely.
right now?
Yeah, Doug, we've got thousands, tens of thousands of members in the state who are tuning in to the podcast, because this is going to be, and I'm not, listen, I'm not Nostradamus. Nostradamus. That's what we call Dougie Doug sometimes. But look, the reality is this, in my opinion, this is going to be an incubator for leadership.
Is there any other podcasts out there for firefighters in Florida?
There
So
are.
you are it.
Yeah, we're gonna become.
No competition.
There's not
right.
enough.
That's
There's
right,
not
not
enough.
enough.
It's not about a monopoly. It's about getting the message out.
I agree, and I'm just playing. But so this is going into firefighters. So I wanna speak to them, right? I wanna address them through this platform if I can.
That'd be great.
Because
Yeah,
I care.
Well, you have so much to offer
Yeah,
too, with experience and leadership.
I really do, and it's interesting because I know very little about firefighting, right? Like, you guys are the experts.
Absolutely, yeah.
100%. I wouldn't even test, right? Like, any answer you gave me, I would just accept on faith. Like, you guys know.
Yeah.
But I do know human beings, right? I advise the top. I advise the leaders. And to me, every single firefighter could be a leader. Like, the potential's there,
I love
right?
that. Yeah.
I value every one of them. I don't know them right now personally, but I might tomorrow. They could. I'm meeting you tonight. I can meet them tomorrow. Every single member of your union or whatever out there has the potential to crush it, to change the world, to transform the state, to do everything. And they might not be doing it. Like Doug said, they might not have the confidence, or they might not have the talking points, or whatever it is. And on the one hand, like, words don't teach, so I could say everything I want here. I could encourage them as much as I want, and I know my words will be hollow and meaningless, because only action or experience teaches people. But at the same time, it would be terrible if I didn't say something. So if y'all are listening, you guys are in life and death situations. You're rescuing people. You're greeting, like, facing the worst disasters the world has to offer. That should be confidence enough alone. If you can handle that, you can handle a podcast. You can handle an article. You can write a little something. You can handle creating content. Like, it's insane, right? If anyone looked at me and you would be the hero, not me. You guys are amazing, and I'm really excited and eager to see whatever you contribute. Get up, get out, do it. And I thank both of you for giving me the chance to speak to them.
No, that's great news, and the fact is that, listen, from the bottom of our heart, we just want to make this a better world and a better profession, and take us to the next level. So we're here. We're happy to be in Toronto, and we're happy JRyze is here on the show.
What a great opportunity. JRyze, thank you so much, man, for your input. We really appreciate it. You've been a great guest. You've been a great host, dude, in Toronto. And for you guys that don't know, guys and gals that are not here, we have been to the baseball game tonight. We watched the Toronto Blue Jays just do their thing.
And a brothel.
Have a great time. We went to an old brothel they turned into a bar. The oldest bar in Toronto, by the way. We've had strawberry beer. We've had, what's the name of the fries with the cheese and the...
Poutine.
Poutine. So you got, like, what is that?
It's fries, gravy, and cheese curds, and salt. It's like 3 simple ingredients,
it's
man.
so good.
But if
Comfort
you layer
food.
it right,
It's so
comfort
good.
food.
I listen. I am taking that back to my fire station. I can tell you that.
They will love it.
That is my commitment to my guys at 16. I'm going to take that back to
They
them.
will love it.
It's awesome. So, what a great inaugural kickoff. We look forward to continuing to develop and inspire the fire service. And, across these 67. That's the name of our podcast. That's what we intend to do. Doug, I'm going to let you close it out. And until next time, we'll see you.
All I'm going to say is just thanks for the support.